Okay.
Okay, the recording has started, so you can begin.
Hello, guys. Okay, today is day 5 of our class on data analytics with Power BI. And to start with, let's just look at the things we've gone over. We've gone over transformation of data, we've gone over data modeling, and now we're going over the last thing or the last pillar that we'll have to look at, which is data visualization. So, after understanding the concept of these three, at any point in time, you should be able to analyze your data successfully, because after transforming your data and creating a data model, all that is left is for you to visualize. Okay, let's head over. Now, as we know this platform, so we just go get our data as usual. So, okay, let's take the practice data this time. And we'll also be getting a couple of other data that not been using. So a couple of CSV. So that let's let our data come in. So just be calendar, customer, product, sales, and territories. Load them in and we'll dive straight into visualization. So before we dive into visualization, we'll just have a little chit chat and talk about a couple of things that people easily miss out when they are working with visualizations. So talking about visualizations, so the major use for visualizations is to display insights that Power BI has discovered in the data. The visualization makes it easier to actually understand and interpret these insights, because your brain generally comprehends the picture faster than a spreadsheet of numbers. So just some of the visualizations you come across. Then let's look at a couple of visualizations you come across that you might not readily see outside the Power BI. So we'll just talk about those uh, in more detail than others. So we have the waterfall chart, we have the ribbon chart, we have the tree map, we have the funnel, we have the card, and we have the gauge. So in most times, the general visualizations we are used to are bar charts and column charts and pie charts and area charts and line charts. And basically, it ends there for a lot of us and for a lot of people. But there are other visualizations that do more than just that. And there is a long list of visualizations that are included in Power BI. Okay, so our data is in. So basically, I'll just be going over the list of visualizations in Power BI in alphabetical order and how they are used. So if you have a note or something, kindly take that down. So let's start with area charts. So basically, in Power BI, we have area charts, and we have layered and stacked area chart. So basically, this is the area chart. So on this row, we have area charts. So this is the basic area charts, which is the layered, which is just one overlapping the other. While the stacked area chart, those are two kinds of area charts that we have here, and it's actually based off the line chart. So this is the line chart. So this is a line chart. This is an area chart. So the basic difference between a line chart and an area chart is that the space in between is mostly shaded. Let me put it like that. It's mostly shaded. So that's basically the difference between your area chart and your line chart. Then we have our bar and column charts. So I never call the bar charts alone because they're basically together. So the bar charts, basically, as most of us are aware, is standard for looking at specific values across different categories. So that's basically how bar charts best work. Categorical data that is spread across a couple of places. So that's basically it for the bar charts. And we have column charts also, which is simply bar charts, but instead of them being uh, vertical, we instead of them being horizontal, we have them vertical. So this is the bar chart, this is the column chart, and now we have different kinds of bar charts. We have the stacked bar chart, and so whatever applies to the bar chart also applies to the column chart. Let's take note. But basically, uh, based on clustering. So whenever you're using a bar chart, what you should watch out for that you don't do is having your data clustered together to the extent that it makes no visible sense to a person who sees it. So that is one thing to watch out for with our bar and column charts. So sometimes when the data looks clustered, you just switch over to a column chart so that the difference can easily be seen. Now we have our cards. So this is a card. The basic use of a card in Power BI is just to display a single data item or a single piece of information. So that's basically how a card works. Now we also have multi-row cards. Multi-row cards. So basically, multi-row cards display numerous pieces of information across a single card. We'll be looking at a couple of these because I've used them for some visualizations that I would love us to build together. So we'll be working together from a site today or tomorrow, depending on how far we can go. So some people like to call a card a big number tile. So it just displays a single piece of information. So you're actually going to be seeing more like a large number on your data. Whilst in multi-row cards, your data will be clustered together and separated. So that's just basically it. Okay, let's move over to the next visualization type. So now we have donut charts. So I'm addressing both donut and pie charts because a donut chart is basically a pie chart that has the center hollow. So this is a pie chart. This is a pie chart. This is a donut chart. The difference is just basically a hollow center, and it also is used for relative information. So all the data right now, unlike the bar and column charts where you have different categories and you're looking for a trend for a particular value, in a pie chart you have just a single category that has been that probably has sub categories, something that is broken down into numerous parts. So they show you relationship of different parts to the whole value. So uh, a couple of people will tell you that pie charts and donut charts are not ideal. It's not true. It depends on the usage. So, as I said earlier, when you have clustering or clustered data, a pie chart will do you no good. In fact, it's better to have a clustered bar or column chart than to have a clustered pie chart. Because when your pie chart is clustered, it shows no information. So ideally for me, when you are doing any form of visualization that has more than five or more than six, seven, up to 10, once it's more than 10, it's a no-no for me when it comes to pie charts. So now remember, everything I say about visualizations should be taken with a pinch of salt because visualization is more of best use and personal preference. So most of what I'll be telling you is okay. This is how I do it according to what I have seen. So if you know what works for you in your line of work, but as a data analyst, ideally your insights should be clear and concise, which is why your data should not, or your visualizations should not be clustered. You have a lot of pages to work with, so it's advised to work with as many pages as are necessary in your report rather than having clustered visualizations that make no sense at the end of the day. Okay, so now with that, we'll move over to, okay, I said I'll be talking about this more extensively, funnel charts. So basically, funnel charts visualize a process that has stages. So let me go there. This is a funnel chart. Funnel charts visualize a process that has stages. And basically, to use a funnel chart, uh, these stages are usually linear processes. So meaning it has a sequential connection. So let's say, so a couple of us might be into sales here. So Tomide should understand, Tope, you two should understand. So you have sales, you have leads. So you have, after having a lead, you have a qualified lead, you have a prospect, you have a contract is drawn out, and you close the deal. So this, you can track your customers probably in these different stages that I just mentioned. So you have a lead on a particular customer, then now you have confirmed that lead. Now you have seen prospects, you go offer a contract, and you close the deal. So at every single point in time, you can see it because it's a linear process and it has a sequential order that has been connected. Welcome back, Tope. Okay, so let's see how far back I can go. So basically, we're just talking about visualization types.
Okay.
So okay, how many visuals are you familiar with? So let's see. So list how many visuals you're actually familiar with.
Visuals like in what way? Are you talking about pie chart, histogram, and stuff like that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Pie charts, histogram, bar charts, and pretty much those.
So basically those three, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm, yeah.
Okay, so excitingly, Power BI offers you more than just even the five that I'm sure you are familiar with, which are bar charts and column charts. I'm sure which is where your histogram lies on that. They are clustered together because they basically have the same functionalities. Bar charts, and column charts are considered one and the same. Area charts, line charts, pie charts, pie and donut charts. I cluster them together too. They are one and the same. Just that one has a hole in the middle. And which other one should you be familiar with? Probably scatter charts. So you should probably know about scatter charts too, right? Okay, so I guess I might have to come again from the beginning. So I was talking about visualization types. So and I was talking about why visuals are important. So we've learned just basically data analysis or the entire data analytics process is mostly into three parts. For you to transform your data, after transforming your data, you model your data, then you visualize with your data. So basically, uh, three, those three are really important.
Okay, so there are three types.
No, I said for the data analytics process,
Yeah.
basically you can break it down into three parts: transforming your data, modeling your data, and visualizing your data. So once you get those three, basically your data analytics process is done. Because at the point of transforming your data, you shape the data to become how it would draw out, how it would best present the insights that you are looking for. So at the parts where you model your data, you look at the relationship between these tables and between the tables and the data entirely. So the entirety of that data is going to be related in one way or the other. So have you watched the video of the last class on data modeling?
No.
Okay, I think that's why. So basically, it shows you the relationship between business entities. So every table or every data is going to have specific entities, and those entities all should lie in a single table. That is to enhance the speed of your data practice. So it helps.
Those entities, can we like call them variables?
Yes, we can call them variables, but
Okay.
the reason why they are called entities in particular is because if you call them variables, that means you can't classify them into facts and dimensions the way we have them. I think you might need to go over that video for you to really understand why they are not. We can't call them variables per se.
Okay, but the right term is entities.
Yes, business entities
Yeah, entities, and each entity is on a column.
on a table, not column. So
Okay.
now, if you look at at my screen, you can see I have a calendar, I have a customer, I have a product,
Okay.
I have sales, and I have territories.
Great.
So now each of these are separate entities. Now, entities are separated into facts and dimension. So, fact simply talks about what happened, while dimension
Okay.
talks about why or what or how it happened. So, for example, sales is a fact entity
Or when
in
it
that
happened.
it is
Okay, when it happened.
when it happened is a dimension. So, dimension has to do with the qualifications of the event.
Okay.
Do you understand? Whilst
Yeah.
fact table has to do with the event itself. So a sale was made.
All right.
Who was it sold to? When was it sold? Where was it sold? What was sold?
Okay.
So that's basically so for calendar it's talking about when, the customer talks about who, the product talks about what, and the territories talks about where.
Yeah.
So do you understand? So now each of these
So
are
territories are dimensions, calendar is dimension, but
yeah,
product is fact.
no, product is dimension, sales is fact.
Sales is fact. Okay.
Yes. And okay, I mentioned this in that video. A cheat sheet to get basically in most, take note, in especially, okay, let me use business. In every business environment, your fact table is always going to be numerical,
Okay. Okay.
while your dimension tables will mostly be categorical.
Okay. All right. All right. That's a good.
So that's just a fast way of creating your data model without having to stress your brain too much when you're looking at an entire table of data. So just so that you don't really stress about it, you just look at your data and know that, okay, let me pick out the numerical data. Okay, now what is related to this numerical data? You now put them into separate dimensions. So another example, in for medical data, I can't be really particular about this, but they have entities like patients, they will have prescriptions, they will have doctors, they will have hospitals, and what else? That's basically how medical data entities will look like. So entities are simply things that are on their own. They can stand on their own. So do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we can move back into visualizations. So we come again from the top. So basically, we'll be looking at a couple of visualizations that you regularly won't see outside on a normal day. So in alphabetical order, we'll be looking at the visualizations that are available in Power BI. So starting again with area charts. Basically, area charts is based on the line charts. It's just that the area in between is filled. And what it simply does is it checks out the trend. So by now you should understand what a trend is now, right? Okay, so what area charts and line charts simply do, it checks out the trend in our data. So mostly it's on the second row of the visualization pane. That's where you find your area and line charts. So your line charts, area charts. And now we have two kinds of area charts. We have this basic or layered area charts, and we have the stacked area chart. So this is it. This is the basic area charts where your data intertwines with each other and is mostly layered on top of each other. While the stacked area chart, on the other hand, works like where one data stops is where the other starts. Do you understand? So that's basically the difference. Then we also have bar and column charts where I was talking about them always having categorical data. So on for your bar and column charts, one of your axes, either the x-axis or the y-axis, must be categorical. That's where your data would make sense. Honestly, having numerical data on both ends makes no sense most of the time. So which is why when I see people that do visualizations and they have numerical data on both ends, I just wonder sometimes, because having numerical data means your data automatically will be clustered. And as a data analyst, the main aim for you to visualize is for your insights to be read easily. If I want to stress my brain to go through your data, I should be going to look at your spreadsheet directly. So the main aim for you to visualize your data is so that the person who looks at it can pick out insights directly from that visualization. So one of your axes for your bar and column charts should be categorical, and you can have numerous others that are numerical. Then that's where you would see the work of drill downs, which we'll look at later on. Now, we have gone through area charts, we've gone through bar and column charts. Now we'll look at a visual that is unique to Power BI and very few other tools. It's called cards. So what cards do, it displays a single data item. So it just displays a single piece of information. So for example, you want to look at your total profits. So you can just put that on a single card. So what most people call card is a big number tile. So this is how a card looks like. So let me see if I can just throw in anything on that card. So let me just quickly throw tax amount. So it just give me total tax amount. Or via downstream. Okay, so as you can see, it just shows a single data item. So that's how it works. So on the other hand, a multi-row card shows numerous data items. Although it is ideal.
That all there is to the card visualization.
Huh? Hello?
Yeah, I'm asking that is that all there is to the card visualization, just to move a particular figure to into the card?
Yes, it is. It is. That is all there is, except when you want to start editing how it looks and how it feels. That's a different case scenario. But this is what it does. It displays a single data item. So most times, when you put something on a card, it should be really important. So most of your important things that you really want to track should be on a card.
So that would so that will just appear somewhere in your report, I guess.
Yeah. So now we have also multi-row cards. Let me get that. A multi-row card, on the other hand, doesn't display a single piece of information. It displays a whole lot more. It displays multiple data items. So another thing about multi-row cards is it aligns the data based on the best data to use as the category. So now if I throw in, that's why I want to show how it works, because I know this might be a little. So if I throw in total product cost, so you can either click, so visualizing with Power BI is easy. You can either come to the fields pane and click on tick, so you can see check boxes here. You just click on the data you want to visualize, or you can drag that data directly into that visual. So now we can see total, you can see the tax amount, you can see the total product cost, we can see the unit price. So most of the times I'll advise that you should put related data here. So now we can see that there's nothing categorizing this. But what happens when I come to click, let's say, customer key? So you can see it now categorizes it by customer key. So let me enlarge this. So there's a focus mode. What the focus mode does is it enlarges it for you to see clearly. So your multi-row card breaks it down. So now you can see that it is now by product key. Sorry, by customer key. So it is categorized by customer key. So that's what I meant by Power BI automatically use the best categorical information to categorize that data. So let's say what happens when I have more than one category. So let's say I pick both product key and customer key. So the categorization has changed. If you take a good look at it, the categorization has changed. And there might, that doesn't necessarily, there would always be. So in this case, we can see that the categorization is still based on customer key, because take note, one customer can buy numerous products. So that's what I meant by Power BI will automatically choose the best categorical value for you. So you can see that you have product keys that are appearing multiple times, but you don't have any customer key appearing multiple times, because Power BI will automatically choose the best categorical value for you. So let me remove this. And talk about the next. So I hope you understand how the multi-row card works now. Huh? Hi, do you understand how the multi-row card works? Okay, now we have Hello, I didn't get that.
Yes, yes, I know how it works.
Okay, let me turn up the volume for my. Okay, so basically we now have the combo charts. So now combo charts basically combine a column chart and a line chart. So now we have two kinds of, okay, I didn't explain this. We have numerous kinds of bar and column charts in Power BI, clustered, and we also have the 100%. So, okay, let's look at them. So in the case of the stack, so remember bar charts, horizontal, column charts, vertical. So we have stacked bar charts. So if I throw in any piece of data in here and put it in categorical form, you see that it will heap on each other. So you can see that the tags and units are heaped one on the other. So it's good when you are using it to break down related categories. That's a very good use case.
Can you quickly try with the pie chart? Let's see what it looks like.
We'll get to a pie chart. So now let's pick a sales territory key, the sales territory key, so that we can break this down. So now we can see that basically what you use stack charts for is where you have different categories. So when you want to do numerous categorization, so probably you want to categorize things that are related, like your sales amount. Okay, let me use this: your tax amount and your unit price and your total production cost. Okay, no total production cost. So mess this up a little. Okay, let's just take the tax amount and your unit price. So tax amount and your unit price, basically, the both of them combined would give you uh, your sales amount. Do you understand? So the price for one uh, for a single unit of any particular good plus the tax will give you how much it will be sold in the store, right? Now you want to see which how in each of these countries of this sales territory key, how your products are related, the tax against the unit price, and you still want to see which country is doing the best. This is a visualization that shows you just that. So you can see the tax amount and the unit price. So of each of these regions. So you can see the tax amount and you can see the unit price. You can see the tax amount and you can see the unit price. So this helps you in cases where you have uh, more than one categorical value to use. That is where your stacked charts come in handy. Do you understand that? Or do I need to go over it again?
Okay, so we are looking at three entities are coming to play here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Now,
you can
sorry, I want to ask a question.
huh?
I want to ask a
Yeah.
question. Now, when you're moving these entities into that chart,
Yeah.
do you have to follow any particular order to get this
Uh,
arrangement, this particular chart? Do you need to follow any particular order, or you can move
no,
any? You can move the entities. I mean, anyone in any particular order
randomly.
randomly,
Yes.
and it is going to
Yes.
and the Power BI would
Power BI will automatically arrange it for you.
it would automatically arrange it.
Yes.
Okay.
Then in cases where it doesn't arrange it to suit what you want,
Mm-hmm.
you can manually move. this. So if you look closely, under the visualizations pane, underneath it, you can see a fields. So I'm highlighting that a fields pane that is under the visualizations pane. For that fields pane, it's just generally referring to the fields that are in the visualization that is selected. So now you can move that.
I should get that field.
Okay, so
You're trying to talk about
under the visualizations pane. Yes, that's what I'm doing. Under the visualizations pane.
Okay.
There is a fields. There's there's a subsection under it, and so I'm highlighting the fields right now. So there is what we have fields, which looks like basically. Okay, you can see that. Then there is a format, which looks like a ruler brush, and there's analytics, which looks like a quick insight kind of thingy. So for legend, okay, that's exactly what I was saying. So legend, so let me remove this, bring it back to where it. So you can move it down to categories. So anything you put in legend is going to be the categorical value. Do you understand?
The sound is breaking.
Okay, I think you need to look at the screen closely to follow through what I'm doing. Oh, sorry. So I said sorry. Anything you put in this legend, any data value or any data item you put in the legend automatically becomes the categorical value for your chart.
Okay. Categorical, in this case, sales territory.
I lost you there.
Yeah, I said categorical. In this case, that's sales territory, right?
Yes. So sales territory key is the categorical value. Reason being, we have multiple. So this is the legend, tax amount and unit price. So it has broken it down into one set of categories. That's one.
Yeah.
Then two, remember we're using a stacked bar chart in this case. So don't forget that.
Yeah.
So a stacked bar chart, you can use it to do more than one. You can use it to do two categoricals at a time. Especially when the categories are of two different data items. So remember that your stacked bar chart, your category would contain more than one data item. Then the second category will be a single data item. Do you understand what I'm talking about here?
Yeah.
So you can see we have tax amount and unit price. Those are two different data items that make up a single entity, which is sales, right? Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
While sales territory key is another categorical value on its own. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So now we're working with more than one category. So here, anything, and now this, what I'm about to say now has to do with all the charts in Power BI generally.
Okay.
Whatever you put in that legend becomes the categorical value. So when you have any data item in the legend, you cannot have more than one data item in value.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
But there are exceptions in stacked charts. So now, if we take let's see, let's go to product and just pick a category. Can you see that it's not accepting it? The legend is not accepting it. So look closely again. You see that the legend doesn't accept it.
Yeah.
That is because we already have more than one value here. But if we remove, let's say, a tax amount, and we bring the category here, the legend accepts it. So remember, a stacked bar chart would not use more than two categories. Do you understand me? And axis 1 carries a category, axis 2 carries another category. Do you understand?
Yeah.
In as much as unit price here is numeric, it actually is the value that is being read. Do you understand? The unit price is the value. Okay, let me break it down like this.
It's not the explanation.
One axis,
Voice. Technical.
it's breaking.
Seriously.
Okay,
After a while,
so
I will hear you again.
I think you might just use the recording of the class, but get as much as you can get so that you can ask your questions. So when one axis will always be the value that is being read, while the other axis is going to be the axis that is going to be used to categorize your data item. Now, in a stacked chart, you have the opportunity to use two different categorizations. So remember, in Power BI, it's either you are using multiple values to create a categorization, or you are using legend. So if you are using multiple values, the multiple values will be read separately as a category. Or you are going to use a legend that will simply break it down. So the way category has broken it down now for us. So we can remove this visual. Whoa. So we've gone over the bar charts, we've gone over the cards, we've gone over the area charts, right? So any question from those three? No question from those three, so we'll move. So now I said pie and donut charts. I tie them together because they are one and the same. So let me first of all pick up a pie chart. Okay, I didn't talk about the exception rule for the bar and column charts. The only exception rule is the case of cluster data. So by cluster data, I mean when you have so much data that your chart becomes so tight and so thin that it is not readable. Chart or even a pie chart. So any chart that has to do with categorization, make sure it is never so tight that it is not readable. So it should be something that once you look at it, you can read it. So now we'll look at a very candid example in pie charts. Now, this is why a lot of people would always tell you that a pie chart is obsolete, because a pie chart would not be able to handle as many categories and still be readable as a bar chart. Remember, you can also use your bar chart to show relationship of parts to a whole, right? That's the same thing that can still happen with your pie chart, but because a bar chart gives you more room to explore than a pie chart or a donut chart, people will tell you your pie chart is obsolete. Do not use a pie chart. But for those who know how to use a pie chart, I would generally advise don't use your pie chart for more than 10 data items. So your categorization should not be more than 10 so that it doesn't look clustered. So let's take category and let's take unit price. Now we can see here that because this thing is super thin, it's not really clear. So we know that we have bikes, we have accessories, and we have clothing. So visualizations in Power BI, as you have taken note, are responsive. When you hover over them with your mouse, it brings up the values that are contained in that visualization. And in cases like this pie chart, to bring out the percentage. And you can also have that written on the side. So as you can see, it's already written on the side. Now let's focus on this. So we can see that it's just when we focus that it becomes clear. Yet a clustered column chart, let me do just that. So when it comes to independent values, it is less understandable. So that is a basic difference between using. So this is when you should know where to use what. So for me, in this kind of scenario, I would use a pie chart, but I would increase the size so that it's more readable. So let's get back to pie chart. So this is a pie chart. Then a donut chart, on the other hand, simply just creates a hole in the middle, which sometimes, emphasis on sometimes, makes that particular visual more readable. So sometimes when you're using a donut chart, it makes that particular visual more readable, as we can see here. So when we're using the column chart, so I said the column chart, when we're using the pie chart, this clothing category is not as clear as it is now. So we can see the difference. So in the pie chart, it's not as clear as it is in the donut chart. So, and this is just 3 categories. But when you're having a large and a really small one, it's advised to have a donut chart other than a pie chart. Because a pie chart, because of the sheer size of the really large category, the small category gets dwarfed out. So it seems it doesn't even look as if it is there at all. So it's better to use a donut chart in such scenarios. But what happens when we change from category to subcategory? So let's move this here. So we have subcategory. So we can see that this is not really clear. It's so tiny that we can't even see it. And just these 2 guys. So now imagine having this in a pie chart. We might not even be able to see what is under the vest. So as we can see, boom. It's so thin that it's hard to see. But having this same data in a column chart, it's now hard to denote the difference between these at the bottom. As you can see, it's now really hard to look at the difference between what we have here at the bottom as against when we had it in our pie and donut chart. So I hope that explains the use cases for each of these. Okay, so we'll be moving to our next chart that we'll be talking about. And we have the funnel chart. Okay, we have the funnel chart. Now, the funnel chart is another chart that is not all in all unique to Power BI, but it is a chart that is hardly used because there are very few fields that use it. Now, basically, what the funnel chart does is it helps you visualize a process that has stages. Okay, Tokyo has dropped again. So it helps you visualize a process that has stages. Now, the stages would flow sequentially. Okay, so remember when we're talking about tax amount and unit price summing up together to give us our sales amount. So that is a category. So categorical value where we have the tax amount and the unit from values, and change this to a funnel chart. So I'll remove this group. We have unit price, we have tax amount. So we can look at, okay, so let's get the sales amount in here too. So now I have to order it. put it in the order that we want. So we have units price, we have tax amount. Now we can look at what percent of what adds up to give us so basically that is it. And in cases where we have to group this by value and look at the group arrangement, that is also another use of the funnel chart. So sequential processing or sequential processing that has stages. Next, we'll look at the gauge chart. So before that, Desmond rather. Okay, Tope is back. Hi, Tope. Hi, Tope.
Please go on.
Okay, so basically for funnel charts, this is how it works, getting them in stages. So especially where there's a sequential flow. So now we're starting with tax amounts, then we've not talked about our profits. If we had calculated out our profits, we would have added it here. And we'll see how it actually flows into each other. So probably stage one has a part in stage two has a part in stage three has a part in stage four. So like that, you start from 8% to the next percent, then like that till you get to 100. So take note, you always start when you're arranging your funnel chart, start with the highest value. So the data item that has the highest value should come in first. And you go like that till the last. So if we get that, we'll move on to our next chart, which we'll talk about a gauge. Now, a gauge simply displays the current status in context of a goal. So what a gauge simply does, it looks at how well you are doing. That's basically it. In real time. The gauges are best used in real time. So let's get a gauge. Now, this is a gauge, and value here is sales amount. So we want to see how much sales are making. So you can see that we have 29.31 million. So that's just basically how the gauges work. Oh, now we have a chart that even for me, every time I want to work with this chart, it takes me a long time. So when you want to work with this chart, make sure you have either done all the work you want to do, or that is the only chart you are going to use. So it's called a key influencer. Now, what a key influencer chart displays is the major contributors to a selected data item. Let me get that up. It displays the major contributors to the data item. And it does that with AI functionality. So now look at this, no influencers found. So what it simply does, it looks at the correlation of between the value you have selected and the other, in relationship with other values against the data item. So now for example, I want to say analyze the sales amount, and in analyzing the sales amount, explain it by unit price and tax amount. So how does unit price and tax amount directly relate to the sales amount? So if it doesn't have a consistent, okay, let's say for an increase in 5% of sales, or there was also an increase in 10% of unit price, something like that. If there is no direct correlation, that's why you see this no influencers found. But when you start adding other things that make it to start having a relationship, now this is what you get. Tax amount goes up by a certain value, and sales amount, the average of sales amount increases by 1.34 million. And this is after adding the sales territory key. Now it has a way of categorizing that information. So now remember when I was saying in every visualization there has to be a categorical value, no matter how the kind of way you want to run it. There has to be a value that will categorize that information. If not, it will not make sense. So that's another thing that we always need to remember when we are building visualizations. There has to be something that is categorizing it. So now it was categorized by sales territory key. What happens when I remove the sales territory key and I put the product key instead? Now we can see that there's a vast difference in the key influencer, because what is being categorized is each product, not where the sales was made. So remember, your category also directly influences this. So now remember, when the tax amount on each product goes up by so and so, our sales amount increases by so and so. So we can also look at the visualizations and look at when there's a decrease or an increase. So we can run it either way. So that's just basically it for key influencers. And we can also look at top segments. By top segments, we mean what products are doing best in the market. So we have a product number, I don't know which is this. So we have segment 1. So average of sales amount, population count. Oh, sorry. Well, now here we're talking about data segmentation. Here we're talking about the top 11 products from 11. So it's broken down into the number of rows or number of products, and has segmented that. So segment 1. So we can look at this. Now we can look at segment 2. And look at segment 3. Now remember, our product is categorized already into bikes, and bikes has the larger percentage. So I automatically know that when we are talking about this, we're talking about bikes. And now I can also from here infer or look at another possibility across the data. Now, when we're done with talking about this, we'll now talk about filters and slicers. So slicer is actually visualization I will leave out for now. So we also have KPIs. So let's leave this alone. Leave the key influencer alone. So we're at DAO. Remove. So tomorrow we'll be actually building an entire visualization individually. And I'll be on the call throughout for the 2 hours when we'll be building for any question at all to assist. So tomorrow is a hands-on class where each person works and asks questions in class directly. So it's more like classwork tomorrow. So we have KPIs. We're at DAO. This is a key influencer, and sorry guys. Yeah, here they are. KPI. So a KPI is a key point influencer. It is not a key influencer. It is a key point influencer. Let's take notes. And it displays progress towards a certain goal. So it's a KPI and a gauge fall under the same category. and I mostly use gauges other than KPIs. So I'll just be giving us a surface touch on KPIs. Because personally, I prefer to use uh, gauges because for me they are more efficient. So for those of us that use Power Pivot a lot, pivot tables are Excel people in the house, you should be familiar with KPIs. Sorry. Uh, okay. So I'll be using I've used KPIs a couple of times. So KPIs is better than gauges at a particular thing, which is looking at the trend of your progress. So remember, gauges just simply look at the progress, but KPIs look at the trend of your progress. So let me get this. So most of the time, this is something I haven't tried. I'll just be trying it right now. But I've heard in the community of data analysts, people say this, that when you're using a KPI, you get your data first and arrange it in a separate visualization, then convert that visualization to a KPI so that you can sort and arrange all your data. So we'll be trying it. I'll be trying it out with us right now. So let's get the sales amount. And we want to look at the sales amount by, let's say, subcategory. So now there are a whole lot of subcategories. So now this is already sorted in either ascending or descending order. So what happens when I put in something like order date? And I want to sort it by, let's say, let me sort it by, okay, I can even remove the order date and leave it just as subcategory. Then sort it by the sales. Okay, sorry. Sort it by subcategory instead of sales amount. So it's now sorted randomly. Now, if I want it arranged, I can sort it in either ascending or descending order. Then I'll sort it by sales amount as we were doing earlier, so that it can make more sense. Okay. Now let's convert this to a KPI. So we can see this is where it picks. But we cannot see what particular product or what particular category caused this peak, which is why your trend axis should be something like order dates. Although this is really, really clustered, let's see, can get something less clustered. Okay, something that has to do with month. So let's go to our calendar. Our calendar data should give us something like that. So the indicator is sales amount, and we can see fiscal month. Oh gosh. So I need this to really be clear. Ooh. So basically, I'll sort this out in a moment and get back to us on the KPIs. So sorry about this. I'm not as familiar with KPIs as those who work with bank data. Okay. So, okay, let me just give us a basic overview of how the KPIs work, which was the plan. So KPI simply takes in an indicator. So an indicator is what is being tracked. Takes in a trend axis. So a trend axis is simply the categorical value that categorizes what you are indicating, and it takes in a target goal. So the target goal is the data value for what you want to compare it against. So in this case, this is just an example. Take notes. We'd say unit price as an indicator and sales amount as our target goal. So it's still missing trend access. Okay, let's use ship date. Oh, it's a little clustered because there are a lot of days in the ship date, but that might be able to do justice for us. Okay, this is clearer. So we know that there's a trend across board, and although the sales, I would have preferred something that was dated so that we can get an average value across 12, probably months or years. But we'll look at that better next time in our next class. So this is basically how KPIs work. And which other visual haven't we gone through? So the next visual we're going through, we'll be talking about maps. So maps simply use Bing, which is Microsoft's own search engine. They uses Bing Maps to put in location data. So we can use that here right now. So remember, whenever you're using maps, remember that your data has to be connected because it is going to connect to the internet. So whenever you're using maps, remember that your data has to be connected compulsorily. Now, for maps, where we have them, maps. So we have field map and the normal map. Then we have ArcGIS map. So, let's start with this. So legend is sales territory key. Let's remove this from here. Oh, we can leave that. We can leave that. So let's use location as country. So Power BI generally is smart enough to pick it out for us. Then in cases where you have longitude and latitude data, it will automatically adjust with that. So we have used location as country. And if we focus, we can see that this is already across. Oh, sorry, that. Let me zoom out some more. So if we zoom in, we can actually see the name of exactly where And if we keep zooming in, we can even end up zooming in and seeing my house. So because that's basically how the map works. So you can put in a couple of other things, and the size is based on the unit price, so on and so forth. Okay, there we have it. And whenever you hover on the dots, it shows you the unit price and the sales amount, because we put the sales amount on the tooltip. I'll remove that from there. Just have that. So it works the same way with the field map, other than the field map is just going to be having colors. Yep, that's it. So the field map is just going to be having colors for wherever it doesn't have. Okay, so we've gone over the visualizations. Now we'll talk about a couple of functionalities that come our and responsibilities that comes along with creating these visuals. Now, it is your responsibility to make sure that your visuals are clear and concise, as I have said earlier. It is also your responsibility to ensure that your visuals are well explained. So some visuals do not go well alone. They need a sort of explanation. So sometimes when you create a gauge, you might need to create an explanation for it, which is where you use text boxes. So you add a text box. Also, let's create a basic visual first of all. So before we look at using filters and slicers. Okay. Or starting with let's create something to track. Let's look at our tax amount, unit price. Okay, total product cost. Total product cost and tax amount should equate to unit price. So now we have three different things, and we'll group categorize it by country. So there we have it. Okay, then next we'll move on to. So remember, when you create a visual, it's always going to be selected. You come to the visualization pane and click on that visual to automatically scatter. And you come back here and you select it. Okay, there we have that. You can enlarge, make it clearer. Okay, next we have, remember to always click the empty report page to unselect this. If not, your visual is always going to be selected. Whatever changes you make, even if it's by mistake, automatically be made. We now would still create another one. So probably this time we're looking at, let's do the same tax amounts. The order can still be switched. But this time we'll be grouping it by, say, order date. Now, this will give us a chance to look at a specific function called drill through. Now, let's talk about how a drill through works. Now, a drill through works when your categorical value has multiple levels. So let's look at that here. So for example, order date has multiple levels embedded within it because it is a date time value. It has the year, it has the quarter, it has the month, and it has the day. Now, this would automatically drill down. So to create these drill downs, we put numerous values in the axis. So if you have numerous values in the axis, it will automatically create a drill down. Now, what does a drill down do? There are two kinds of drill downs. There is a normal drill down which just goes to the next level, and there is the expand drill down which expands the data by one level. So for example, if we decide to use the normal drill down, we can drill down our data into year. So it's already categorized by year, year 2016, 2015, 2014. But by the time we turn it on, we've made a drill down. So you can see go to the next level in hierarchy. So now we have quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. And if we look closely, there is a steady increment in our data of our unit price. But what happens if we want to add the product key into this mix? Let's make it a little bit complex. Do we see that the product key gets added into the axis? Meaning if we keep drilling down, we'll surely hit the product key. So we have by month, we have by day, and we have by product key. So remember when I was saying if you have multiple values in your axis. So let me remove this and put product key, also put promotion key. Okay, let me put product promotion key in the axis so that you can see that when you have more than one value here in your axis, it automatically turns on drill down for you to go to the next. Now look at this. Here, when we click expand all down one level, the data gets a little messy. Let me put this on focus mode so we can look at it closely. So we can see promotion key. Let me use a key that will be more familiar with, sales territory key. Since we've been looking at this data, I expect that you already be familiar with this. Expand down one level in hierarchy. So here we can see it, the product and the product key and the sales territory key. You can see that it is merged, more like not actually merged, but you can see when we keep moving and scrolling and scrolling. Now, this is what is referred to as data windowing, where a certain portion of your data is displayed. Now, we have the opportunity to show as a table by right-clicking, and it shows us the tabular form of this same data that we have up here. So sometimes you might want to see how it looks like in a table, just in case you want to export data, or you want to switch the vertical, or you want to export the data out as a CSV file. So this is another functionality that you have in Power BI. So I'm just showing us the functionalities that are attached to our visualizations in Power BI. That is basically what we'll be looking at today, most of those functionalities. So export data. When you export data, it exports as CSV and saves that CSV file. So when I export data, you see that this data saves as a CSV file. So here we have it, .csv. But now I'm not interested in exporting this data. So let me go back and drill up back to the report. And here I am. So we can show next level. So the same way we're using the drill down, I can right click it and drill up. I can also right click it and copy the visual bar to the clipboard. So basically that is that here. Let's get back and use other dates as was the original plan. So we have other dates. Hello, Des, can you hear me? Just to clarify.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay. So we've done two charts. Now we'll get the next one. Now we'll categorize our colors for our categories. Okay, let's use color. Color. And you can see immediately selected color, it got highlighted in legend. So sales for unit price. So under the unit price, we want to see the details about the tax amount. So what is the tax amount for in each of the units prices? So we can see clearly. So if I focus on this, let me just increase the size. So that it's clear. So you can see that these arrows show us what is what. So 2.34% is tax amount 1.55. So we can just take a look at that. So whatever I'll put in okay. So you can see that it's scatters the data a little. So put its tax amount back in here. We can see that it's still under category. That's the difference between using details and putting two or multiple values. So I really do hope with the same data we get that when you are using details and you already have a single value, that those details get scattered across board. Because what happens here when you use details is the tax amount for each particular product or each particular value of tax for that exists within that table in relationship with the color and unit price selected gets highlighted out. So in relationship to every single unit price, that's the tax amount that it's going to bring out. I just do hope you understand that. So every single tax amount under this particular, under the unit price of everything here gets highlighted out. So remember, when this thing is in a table, so let's not forget it's still our data. When this thing appears in a table, the rows that will have black would have more than one black, for instance. So let's say black. Black has one, two. So black will have numerous instances of tax amounts. So that's the detail. So when you select details, it's going to select every single instance and bring it out. But when you just keep it under values, it creates it's like using the summation. So when you pull from here out, so let's add the unit price back into the mix. So I hope we've understood the difference now. So that next time we're using a pie chart, we can understand. Okay. So after adding other categories for this, the next we can look at is probably create a gauge that will track that. So we have unit price coming in here. And let's say the impossible thing is for our unit price to fall below our tax. So our minimum value, we take it as tax amount. So you can see that the minimum value has increased. And our maximum value, let's take it as our sales amount. So now this is basically it. So here we can see how far we are from hitting this. Now that's one way to look at it. And another way to look at it is setting the sales amount as the target value. But although that is a virtually impossible target to meet because your sales amount will always be higher than your unit price. So it just sets it as the target. So that is just the basic way our gauge works. And we can also come to format and manually set a target. We go to gauge axis and manually set a target. Let's say 26 million. 26, 23, 23. Boom, there it appeared. That's a permanent one that won't move. So that's just basically how to use a gauge. Now we can create reports across multiple pages. But before we do that, let's look at something. It's called filters. So filters, as the name just sounds, what it does is it creates boundaries, or it creates yes, boundaries. That's another word that I can use instead of repeating the word filters. So it creates boundaries, and when you don't fall or meet up with those boundaries, you are left behind. That's simply how filters work. So now filtering can be done across three levels: on the entire page, which affect the page that we're working on all pages, which will affect all pages that we're going to create, and on the particular visual selected. So let's select a visual. And also, let's remember something. When you select any data item on any visual, it automatically affects others across board. So let's say I select France. So the data for France gets affected across board everywhere. Everything that is highlighted will come France. If I highlight another country, let's say Australia, the entire data highlighted becomes Australia. If I highlight, so anything I highlight, if I come here and I highlight the color black, so the entire data across board will be for the color black. So whenever all the you highlight any visual on a certain page, the entire page conforms to that highlighting. So I need us to understand that that has been passed across. Now let's look at filters. Now there are ways to use filters. There are various ways to use filters. You can either drag in an entirely new data field or an entirely new data item. So let's see. I want to pick a data item that is not even on the page. Let's come to customer data and pick gender. Okay, drag it in, place it here. So now I can select whether female, male data, or male data. I have male. So if you look at the values on this, okay, let me use a visual that will show it clearer. Let me remove it from here. This is a visual that will be very clear to see the differences. So let's once again drag in gender. So I'll select female and see that it changes automatically. And I am select female and select male. It also changes. So that's basically filtering on the visual. So what happens in cases where you don't want to use basic filtering or want to use a filter of let's take country, and we have the ability to select particular country we want to see on that visual, or we want to select, let's say, advanced filtering contains okay, or let's use does not contain. Let's select uh, Hello. So as I was saying, rather than write,
Yours, you stopped
rather
sharing it.
rather than writing
Okay.
an entire function, you can just come here. So after creating your data, you can just come here and quickly streamline the data that you want to see. So let's say uh, is greater than, let's say, tax amount, total product cost is greater than 2 million. So two, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Apply filter. So now when I do that, I can now have my data, can show that as a table, or I can even decide to export that data out in a case where I want to use it in another tool or somewhere else. I want to use that data independently. So this is what I was talking about to me when I was talking about rather than writing functions, I use my visual analysis to just ease up the work for myself. So this is another hack that I've dropped again from Power BI. So Desmond, over to you. Hi, Desmond.
Okay, thank you very much. This is the much we can take for today. It's already time.
Yeah. So
So see you.
tomorrow, please, if it's possible, you could stop the recording now, please.